Hey, welcome back. So today I've got a question from Kurt H on YouTube. Let's get started. All right, so recently I posted a video about posture in the javelin throw, and I had mentioned what I was trying to do, which is set up my posture. And in that process, I said something about flared hips. And Kurt H noticed that and asked if I could elaborate, if I could give a little bit more detail on what flared hips mean. So here we go. Okay, let's talk a little bit about why the hips need to be flared a little bit. So in the javelin throw, I'm looking for a rotation of my hips that sort of goes from a low point to a high point, moving from back to front into my target. That's going to create this chain reaction that goes up through the rest of my body, through my core, through my shoulder, arm, fingertips, through the javelin. So I'm trying to get my right hip to be in a position where I don't have to adjust it the last second during the throw. I just want to adjust it so that it's free to travel, boom, into the throw. So I'm not trying to put my hips forward, okay, because I don't want them to be open to the throw, because if they're open to the throw, they haven't traveled anywhere. And that means my upper body isn't also getting pulled into the throw. So I'm trying to put my hips back, but in the process, I'm just kind of shrugging it to the outside. Okay, so again, there's travel, there's room to travel. So if this is completely open, I'm going to turn my hip into the throw, and you can see that I'm moving at my target. So there's range of motion there. It's a really important aspect. But if I'm tucking my hip back, then at the last second, I have to then turn the hip and still get it to rise. It's just not terribly efficient. So I'm trying to get it into a position where I can go from back to front and driving in towards my target. All right, so in one of the previous videos, I covered like there was two tips on how to throw farther, and it was length of pull and using your hips. So this hip flaring thing gets your hips into a position where you can use them, and the other thing is that it provides you a much longer position for that upper body to be in. So if I am tucked underneath here with this hip, it's really hard to elevate my right side. And so if I simply shift the hips, flare the hips out, I can lift that armpit up pretty high. And now, as I throw, I'm getting a lot of tension all the way through in the core, across the shoulders, and into the throw. So not only does the flared hips provide a better range of motion for the hips to travel, is it also provides a better range for the shoulders to travel. I know a common mistake is everyone's dropping the javelin or bringing their arm in, and the reality is, hey, use your hip, put that in the right spot, and then it makes it so much easier to get the upper body into a throwing position. All right, so how do you set up for a flared hip? Well, I want to avoid getting my right foot pointed to the outside. I don't want to put my hips back. I want to bring the hips underneath of me. I want to feel the sunlight coming down hips to shoulders all the way back. Okay, this needs to be ready to fire into the throw, so I don't want to hide any of it. At the end of your approach, I mean, it just happens so incredibly fast. There's no time to make those other adjustments. So I want to adjust it sort of as we go through the crossover. I want to make that adjustment. I also want to then maintain it as I move through the block and produce my throw. All right, so maybe a little visual can help here. So if I put the javelin across my hips this direction, kind of lock it in place here, if my hips are kind of tucked back and underneath, as I throw, the javelin sort of moves, or my hips, move through this way, and you can see the javelin goes at this particular level. In the javelin throw, I'm trying to get my hips to travel up and into the flight line of the javelin, because of course that's going to pull my core and my shoulders and then my arm and then the javelin into the flight line. So again, locking into this position, if I flare my right hip to the outside, and as I drive into that block, I can see there's elevation here, elevation in the hips, and you can see again my shoulders are elevated, and then my hand is going to transfer over my right hip. There's a lot of rotation in the javelin. It's just what axis are you rotating on? All right, Kurt, I hope that answered your questions. I do appreciate you writing in that comment section. If you have a comment or a question, just put it in the comment section below. If you like this video, please share it. I would appreciate that. Grow the audience a little bit more here. If you want notifications of any new Javelin videos, hit that bell notification icon, and then you'll get notified each time I post a new video. And until I see you next time, have fun and throw far.